Hello, hello. All right. So we are, what's today? Well, I'm not recording it on the day it actually is. What's the day going to be when you see this video? It's Tuesday. Hi. So we're starting to talk about trig, sine, cosine, tangent, and SOHCAHTOA. So you remember that it's part of a right triangle, right? And it all has to be right. It always is right. It's never wrong. I'm so funny. Okay, anyways, um, we're comparing the sides. So if I want to know the relationship between a triangle, I can use trigonometry to talk about how the sides relate to each other. Today, we're just going to talk about the sides. Tomorrow, starting here in our notes, we're going to talk about the angles. So this is actually going to be day 3 right here. Okay. So, all right, here we go. To do any trigonometry, you must use the basic sine, cosine, and tangent relationships. Recall that these are called trig ratios because they represent the ratios of different sides in a right triangle. When referring to sine, cosine, or tangent, it must be with reference to a specific acute angle. That's these. This angle or this angle in the right triangle. There will be 3 options. So if I want to find out like what's the ratio of 2 of the sides in reference to this angle, I could use like sine or cosine or tangent to find the ratio. Remember, a ratio is going to be a fraction answer. There are times that you are asked, like, find the value, um, and that would be that you'd actually divide the fraction and you get a decimal. So if you ever asked to find the value, then you would divide the fraction to uh, to um, ah to get a decimal. All right, I can't even see that. Why don't you guys raise your hand and tell me you couldn't see it? My jokes are getting so old. Like I say the same jokes because I have no funny things to say because you're not in front of my face. I miss your beautiful faces. Okay, basically, let's do a little bit of practice. Okay, the sine is the opposite over hypotenuse. So cosine of an angle means the adjacent side, which means the side next to the angle. That would be like if I were doing this angle here, the adjacent would be here, right? Over hypotenuse. This is always the hypotenuse. Okay. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Let's say we're doing this angle and I wanted to do tangent. I would do opposite. This would then become the opposite, and this would be the adjacent. So you really have to pay attention to which angle you're looking at and which angle you're talking about. Okay? So let's do a couple. SOHCAHTOA. Sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Okay? So this was your homework, right? Let's do that. Okay. Honestly, best idea, sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Write it at the top of the paper. You'll find that this is going to be extremely easy homework, like insanely easy. So, um, find the value of each trigonometric ratio. I want your answers in fraction and decimal. You're going to need a calculator. Can you please get out a calculator, guys? Okay. Here we go. Tangent of z. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So I'm looking at angle z. And from angle z, I'm going to go, the opposite is 21. The adjacent is 28. You always have to reduce your fractions. 7 goes into both of those, so that's 3/4. Obviously, you know this one. 3/4 is not hard. 3/4 is just 0.75. So I'm going to want both of these answers, okay? There is a backside to this worksheet that wants just the decimals, but it's the same math. So I'm only going to make you do one side of this worksheet, and you're going to do the fraction and the decimal for me. So now let me do number 2, and then honestly, that is it for this video because it's so basic. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent of angle C. Next, okay, this is always the hypotenuse, guys. Always opposite 90 degrees is the hypotenuse, which means the adjacent side is right next to. What's right next to C? Oh, 16. What's the hypotenuse of this triangle? Oh, 34. Okay, so in your calculators, you do 16 divided by 34, and you get 0.47. Let's just do to the hundredths. Okay? So then my answer that I want is these two things. All right? You're going to do 1 through 10. You get a fraction where you compare one side and one side, and then you divide it in a calculator. And in the calculator, that's how you get your second, your simplified decimal answer. All right, guys, that is it for day 2. Your homework is 1 through 10. And tomorrow we're actually going to use trig again to find these missing angle size. All right, talk to you tomorrow.